in pursuit of health and wisdom. Sapio with Buck Joffrey.
Now, when I was in college, I would take Sudafed whenever I had a cold, and it worked like a charm. I could breathe again. And by the time I was in medical school, though, I noticed something had changed with my go-to cold medicine. It turned out that the active ingredient changed from pseudoephedrine to phenylephrine. I also noticed that it didn't seem to work for me anymore. So one day I asked the pharmacist why the change. And what he told me was interesting. It was because people were using all of this Sudafed with pseudoephedrine in it to make crystal meth. And as it turns out, in an effort to combat the methamphetamine production epidemic, the U.S. Congress passed what it called the Combat Methamphetamine Epidemic Act of 2005. And this legislation put significant restrictions on the sale of products containing pseudoephedrine. So while you could still get pseudoephedrine, it was shoved behind the pharmacy counter, and so consumers had to show identification and sign a logbook to purchase it. There were also limits placed on the amount one could buy in a single transaction within a month. So in response to these restrictions and to offer consumers more convenient options, in other words, to make sure sales didn't go down, many manufacturers began formulating their own over-the-counter products with phenylephrine instead of pseudoephedrine. Phenylephrine, which has a different chemical structure than pseudoephedrine, is not used in illicit production of methamphetamines. Anyway, it never really worked for me, and because of that, for years I've been going behind the counter and asking the pharmacist for some pseudoephedrine tablets. As it turns out, I wasn't just the only one that it wasn't working for. Phenylephrine actually didn't work for most people. Just last week, an FDA advisory committee said that phenylephrine taken by mouth doesn't actually work to get rid of nasal congestion at all. And if you're feeling better because of it, it's likely just because of a placebo effect. The issue is that when you take phenylephrine by mouth, very little of it actually gets into the nose. Now, this whole thing is a really big deal for pharmaceutical companies. Last year, phenylephrine generated almost $2 billion in revenue, and it doesn't even work. And it's good that you know that, because here's the thing. When you go to the pharmacy right now, it's probably still on the shelf for you because the FDA has not officially revoked the drug's generally recognized as safe and effective label. Now, I'm guessing that's going to happen pretty soon anyway, but in the meantime, quite honestly, sellers of the product are not really incentivized to remove it from their shelves by themselves. So, if you have a cold, do yourself a favor and go behind the counter and ask for something with pseudoephedrine in it instead of buying a phenylephrine containing product. That is, if you actually want something that's going to clear up your nose better than a sugar pill. That's it for this medical update. This is Buck Joffrey here with Sapio. If you like what I'm doing, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for listening to Sapio with Buck Joffrey. A quick reminder that while I am in fact a surgeon, nothing I say should be construed as medical advice. Now make sure to include your physician in any medical decisions you make. And also, if you're enjoying the show, please make sure to show your support with a like, share, or subscribe. Until next time, this is Buck Joffrey for Sapio with Buck Joffrey.